Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Powell?
Here.
Commissioner Jordan? Commissioner Renner?
Here. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and start. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on something that is not on the agenda? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody?
We do not have anyone registered to speak live or email public comment for regular public comment.
Right. We do have some that have emailed you that are relevant to one of the hearings that we're holding. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay. Thank you very much. So at this point, we're going to move to the consent agenda. We have consideration to approve the minutes from the October 13th, 2020 regular Liquor Commission meeting. Since the only other commissioner who's attending is Commissioner Powell, are there any corrections or additions that you have to the minutes, Lindsay?
No, I don't.
Okay. Would that mean you would be okay making a motion to approve as presented?
I motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
Okay, thanks. Moved. I'll second that. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Renner?
Yes, thank you very much. The minutes will stand. We'll move right away to item 5A. This is a hearing and action on a request from ARV Cuisine at 503 North Prospect for a Class RAPS, restaurant, all types of alcohol, package and Sunday sales, liquor license. And at this point, we're going to begin. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is our attorney, Mr. Boyle, is he online yet, Madam Clerk? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon.
George? Hey, George.
Yes.
Yeah, I just opened the public hearing on item 5A, which is the license at 503 North Prospect.
Oh, okay, that sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to start with the proponents, and I see Mr. Hinch is online with his client. And at this point, Mr. Hinch, are you speaking or is your client speaking first? Who do we need to swear in? We're going to start with the proponents. I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Mayor, we're both here available and happy to answer any questions. And I think in the interest of just in case, I think we're fine both being sworn in and answer any questions that you have.
Okay. At this point, I wonder if one of the two of you would be sworn in and summarize your request and the nature of the business.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My client would like to go ahead and do that.
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you swear in our client, Mr. Hinch's client, please?
Can you please state your name for the record?
Rakshi.
And your last name?
Venimudala.
Thank you. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us about your request and your business model and what you're thinking of at this location?
Okay. Firstly, good evening. So I would like to start by saying when I took over this business, it's been like 4 months. I have always been passionate about the food industry. That's the reason even during this pandemic, I was able to take over a restaurant that was already, into problems because of the COVID and all. So I took over the restaurant and I was able to, run it really well, even during this pandemic. And eventually when I took over the restaurant, I already had a plan because Bloomington was missing a combination of an Indian bar along with the food. I want to provide the public of Bloomington with the access of Indian food along with some decent drinks. So that's the reason, I want to expand the business.
Okay, and then that by expanding the business, that would include the request for the liquor license that you've asked for us here, that including all types of alcohol, package, and Sunday sales. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Powell, do you have any questions or comments?
So just looking at the hours, it looks like they are open till 1 a.m. during the week. And so then they've got extended hours on Friday and Saturday. So would you still be interested in keeping those hours till 1 a.m. during the week and 2 on the weekend?
Would I be interested in continuing the same? like same timings, or do I have to like, would I be flexible in changing the timings?
Yeah, just I
Mhm.
guess the question, are you flexible with changing the times if need be?
Definitely. I mean, I want to cooperate with the city. Definitely my property should be without any problem. So if it is definitely going to be a problem to the city, I'm always flexible with the city, because you know it better depending on the situation. I'm new to the business, so I'll definitely need your guidance and suggestions. But definitely, I can only promise that I'll take care of the business and try to run it very smooth and efficient.
Yeah, and if
And
I
then,
could briefly add, Mr. Mayor, I
what,
believe,
no, excuse me, you would have to be sworn in. You'll have to be done. It'll have to be separate. I'm sorry, Mr. Hinch. Just one sort of a follow-up to that. Um, Can you describe at 503 North Prospect? That's primarily a business district. Is that correct? There's no residents around there. Is that correct?
No, sir, no residents.
Okay. And what about Bassett training of the people that you are hiring?
Actually, I am also in the process of getting it done, but I already
Okay.
have my wife who has done it, because I
Okay.
already know that I'm going to apply for a license and all. So she's all prepared. She's already certified pass.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Boyle, any questions before I go to Mr. Hinch to have him sworn in?
Do you, have you been involved in a restaurant that served alcohol before?
Never.
Okay. Have you had a restaurant before, or is this your first restaurant?
This is my first restaurant, but I have worked in restaurants before. When I was studying, going to school, I've worked in pizza restaurants and some Indian cuisines as well. So I do have some experience when I was in college.
Okay. And did those restaurants have alcohol in them?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
But I did not
Did you have
serve.
any, excuse me?
But I did not serve the alcohol that time.
Oh, okay. Because you were under 21 or something, or?
Yeah, I was when I was working.
I see. Uh-huh. About how many people does your establishment seat during normal times?
Right now, it's a small space because we have a larger kitchen. Right now, we do have a seating capacity of around 30, but with the expansion, I will add another 50 to 60 capacity right now.
Mm-hmm. How many people do you expect to be, say, serving alcohol at one time? And again, I'm referring here to during normal times, not necessarily during these times where there are different mitigations and different, emergency public rules in effect.
Coming to the staff, I'm preferring to have one standard bartender working full time for us, which would be my wife, obviously. She's getting trained now. I mean, she's trying to go to school also for that. She's looking up. And apart from that, I would also hire 3 other people who will be serving alcohol for sure.
I see. And are you pretty much, you're the owner, but are you also pretty much the operations manager, or you and your wife, or how does that work?
Yes,
Yes.
actually, I'm taking care of the entire restaurant right now, including each and everything that goes, all the operations, inventory management, all these things. So hopefully, once the bar starts, I'll be taking care of that too.
All right. Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay. Mr. Hinch, did you want to be sworn in?
yes, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Please. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
You swear firm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Hinch. You were going to add something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just simply going to add that I believe the hours of operation, when we prepared the application, we checked in terms of the establishment that's nearby at, is it Ride to 9, I believe, and that I believe those hours are consistent with that other facility that is in the neighborhood as well. Just wanted to add that.
And Mr. Hinch, since you're on there, and I've got you, I wonder if I could just, again, to describe that area, it's primarily commercial, and if we did allow it to go till 1 or 2, is there anybody that you can imagine in the immediate area who might be harmed or affected by that, who lives there?
No, Mr. Mayor, you're correct. It is a commercial area, and I can't imagine there's nobody, no residences right there that would be harmed or anything like that. as I mentioned, there is one other establishment, particularly nearby, and I think we mentioned in the application, Eastland Suites is also quite close, and they have a bar there as well.
Gotcha. And I wonder what if I could ask, do we have Greg Scott? Can you hear me? You're muted at this point. Greg, are you there?
Might need to hit *6, Greg.
Greg, yeah, can you hear us? I think you're not
Yes.
muted now. Oh, there you are. Greg,
Yeah,
I wonder if you could be sworn in and if I could just ask you a very quick question or two.
yep. Give me a minute to get my video started. There we go.
We see you. Thanks, Greg.
You bet.
Madam Clerk, could you swear Mr. Scott in?
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And Greg, I just have a real quick question, and maybe it's a quick question. Have there been any incidents with the police at this establishment that you are aware of?
No, sir, there haven't. No problems at all.
Commissioner Powell, any questions?
I have no further questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. At this point, Madam Clerk, is anyone here to speak against this liquor license?
No.
Okay. At this point, given that we have no one who's speaking against the liquor license, we're talking about an establishment that even if they were open, the hours that they have posted would, at least as far as we can tell, not have any harmful effect on anyone that lives in that immediate area, and that we have had no complaints that, as far as we know of, from the police department. Commissioner Powell, do you have any concerns, or are you prepared to make a motion to send this to the city council?
I'm prepared to make a motion to send it to city council.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Any further discussion, Lindsay?
Nope.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Paul,
Yes.
Commissioner Renner.
Yes, thank you very much, and good luck to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're going to move on next to the public hearing and action on a request from Pueblo Grande Mexican restaurant located at 2303 East Washington, Unit 5, for a Class RAS restaurant, all types of alcohol and Sunday sales. And at this point, do we have the applicants here? Are they present?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And before we begin, would you please unmute yourself and be sworn in by our clerk, please, because we're going to start the public hearing. Madam Clerk, could you swear her in?
Please state your name for the record.
Laura Ray Boyle.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Boyle, I wonder if you could just summarize the nature of your business and what you're asking us for, and what your business model will be if this is approved.
So we can sell alcohol at our restaurant during the hours from 11 to 9 on the weekdays, and on the weekends from 11 to 10.
Okay. And how long have you been in business at this location?
We're opening it. It hasn't been opened yet.
Okay. Have you owned a restaurant before?
Yes.
And did it serve alcohol?
Yes.
And can you tell us about that, or how long your experience was there?
3 years.
Okay. Was that in
At Dos
Bloomington?
Fuentes and Fairbury.
Fairbury. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any violations there?
No.
The link? Okay.
Nope.
Do you have Bassett training?
Yes.
And how many employees would you have that would have Bassett training at the location?
Depending on the amount of waiters, so probably about 4.
Okay. All righty. Commissioner Powell, any questions?
You asked all of the questions I was going to ask, Mayor, so I don't have any further questions.
Okay. I would just like to follow up, Ms. Arroyo. I wonder if you could describe the immediate area around 2303 East Washington. Is that primarily residential? Is it primarily commercial?
Commercial.
Okay. So if we were to grant this, and obviously we're not talking about too terribly late at night, but there's no one around who lives in that immediate area who would be harmfully affected. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Boyle, any questions?
No, I have nothing. Nothing
Okay.
further.
Are there any, Madam Clerk, is there anyone here to speak against this application?
No, we haven't had anyone registered to speak against.
Okay. And since this is a new business, I'm not going to ask our police chief about incidents because you haven't opened yet. But at this point, given what you're asking is in a primarily commercial area, you certainly have experience and no violations. I don't know what, and we don't have anyone speaking against this. I certainly don't see any particular reason to deny this. Commissioner Powell, do you?
I don't either.
Okay, is that then a motion to approve and send this to City Council?
I motion to approve and send to City Council.
Okay, I second that. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Paul,
Yes.
Commissioner Remmer.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, we wish you the best of luck.
All right, thank
in
you.
your endeavor. Appreciate it. Next, we move to our third public hearing, and that is a request for a liquor license at 706 North Clinton, and that's package sales, all types of alcohol, and Sunday sales. And at this point, do we have someone here? Samant, is it Mr. Samant? Can you hear us? Could you unmute yourself?
Yes,
There.
yes.
I wonder if we could have you sworn in, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'm here too, Rich Marvel.
Okay, already. Did you want to speak first or be?
Yeah,
Or,
I would like to speak first, if I could.
okay, well, we'll swear you in first, and then Mr. Samant. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay,
Mr. Marvel, can I swear you in?
yes,
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marble, if you could briefly summarize this location and the request and anything else that you would like to add in terms of background, and then we'll follow up with questions.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a slide deck. If you got, I can run through it in probably 4 or 5 minutes and give you a good overview of what we have going on here. I mean, this property does have some history, so I do want to go in and address any particular questions that the.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it does, and we have received, I think we have some people ready to testify here, and we have certainly received some public comment, so it would be very helpful for you to give us some information. Go ahead, Mr. Marble.
Is it appropriate if I share the screen?
I don't see any reason why. Mr. Boyle, there's no reason why we can't allow that, correct? Okay, I can't hear Mr. Boyle, so go ahead, Mr. Marble.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was muted for a second. I missed your question, Rich. Did you say, can you share this?
Yeah.
No, he's just showing us a slideshow.
So maybe
George.
that's fine. Yeah, there's no problem with that.
Okay, I didn't think
No.
so, but I just thought I would touch base with you. Okay.
No, I appreciate your checking, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Marble.
And feel free to interject any questions you have.
Sure.
Council. So very quickly, Mayor and Council, we have an application for the location at 706 North Clinton Street, and we're seeking an application for packaged and Sunday sales, all types of liquor. The location is on the corner of Clinton and Empire, which is
You mean Locust?
yes, Locust and Clinton. Presently, the photograph that you see in the image here is an older photograph. The actual canopy regarding the gas stations has been removed. The intent of Mr. Awad in running this, or Mr. Samhan in running this store, is that he wants to operate a high quality premium beverage and spirits liquor store. This is a property that has been in his family for some time, and we'll get into a bit of the history, but presently the property is owned by his brother, and Mr. Samhan and his family are planning to move to Bloomington if the application is approved, which is one of the issues that we wanted to address today as well. So his intent is to operate a facility that has local options for beverage pickup, and he was planning on running this business between the hours of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I only say that now as we get into the deck just to give you some perspective. The corporation is presently from Chicago, and it does have a present liquor license in Chicago and North Chicago for VIP food and liquor. Awad, he's the sole owner of the property. He's got a young family that he's going to plan to relocate to Bloomington in the event that this business can move forward. He has extensive experience in dealing with liquor licenses, in Central Illinois and also in Chicago area. He was a manager of a Super Savers Liquor in Peoria, which is close to Bradley, for a few years. And now he's had various types of ownership in liquor establishments or businesses that have had liquor licenses historically. Presently, the one that he operates to date is VIP Food and Liquor, and it's in Sheridan Road in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
In 2003, at this particular location, there was an underage service violation that was pointed out in one of the Liquor Commission meetings. And that other than that, one underage liquor violation during Awad's management of this location and his other locations, he's not had any other violations in any of the municipalities that he's conducted business in.
So just to clarify that, the last, his violation was 17 years ago, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Purposes of full disclosure, I did not want that to come out in this hearing that because it was in historical documents. So that was.
I mean, we don't look back that far here, so, but thank you.
Yes. Bassett certified. Mr. Samhan is currently Bassett certified. All of his employees will be Bassett certified as well.
Okay.
The property address, 706 North Clinton. It's at the corner. We've already looked at it. It's a property that has really been underutilized from an economic standpoint for the last, 7 or 8 years. Currently, the property is leased to a third party on a month-to-month basis that's unrelated to the family, and the family intends to, Mr. Awad or Mr. Samhan intends to take over the management of the operation, evict the current tenant or ask the current tenant to leave. And at that point, he intends to refurbish the property, which is in desperate need. Presently, the canopy has been removed, and the parking lot is set to be reconstructed here in the next 4 to 6 months as well. So this is a property that's been underutilized basically over the last 5 or 6 years. Historically, I wanted to provide some perspective here. Back when the last liquor license was applied for was in 2014. Unfortunately, at the time, Mr. Samhan's father owned the property. And at that time, due to some accounting errors, fuel tax wasn't appropriately calculated, and Mr. Samhan's father had a tax issue. There was a lot of discussion at the last Liquor Commission meetings back in 2014 about the tax lien and whether or not, even if the city of Bloomington awarded a license, would the state do it? And there were 3 or 4, this matter actually went back to the commission 3 times. And each time Mr. Samhan was compliant, provided the information that the council or the commission requested at that time. Ultimately, it was decided that there wasn't going to be an issue with the issuance of the liquor license because of the tax lien. But certainly that was a factor, I believe, in some of the decisions that were made at the time the facility was going to move forward.
Mr. Marvel, if I could just clarify on that. So in that situation, the Liquor Commission actually did vote to approve it, and the city council voted 5-0 to deny it.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Continue, please.
Historically, this is the timeline in which this matter was presented to the Liquor Commission. So it went on February 11th. It was continued because there was some additional information that was necessary. On March 11th, Commissioner Renner was not present, so it was continued to April 8th. April 8th, the issues with the Illinois Department of Revenue came up. There were a variety of questions and answers between the commissioners, Mr. Samhan, about single serve, lighting, security, and certainly neighborhood concerns, which were a concern then, and they presently still are. I've seen the comments that were mailed to me that I have reviewed. But there were a lot of comments made at the Liquor Commission hearings that were basically, I wouldn't say unvalidated, but there were a lot of issues that you couldn't necessarily correlate to the operation of the business at that time. Went to the commission on the 14th, and it was denied. And it went back to the Liquor Commission on December 9th. It was approved at that, actually on the 9th when it came back the 4th time. The commission didn't approve it because of the 5-0 that it had before, and nothing had significantly changed at that point. And at that point, the council noted, or the commission noted, the neighborhood concerns. Speaking about the property condition, I mentioned that this is underutilized and this property certainly is in need of restoration. There was some lust fund financing that is being used right now to clean up the property, and it's in its final stages. Part of the last condition that's going to be completed on this site is going to be the repavement and refurbishment of the parking lot, which will likely entail a replacement of the entire parking lot. Again, the store intends to offer high quality options, including the types of food that would go with that kind of a store. Mr. Samhan intends to manage the facility. Once and if the liquor license is approved, he will move to the Bloomington Normal area, which can be certainly a condition of the creation of the license at the time. Immediately, he plans to have 2 employees, which will be hired. And then as the business grows, he intends to add to his staff. Each of his staff will be Bassett certified. Speaking of the traffic, I mean, this is always a unique issue, and I seem to have a handful of these licenses that have been coming across my desk, but specifically with this location, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, but specifically with this location, this corner receives over 6,900 cars daily on Locust and over 8,450 cars on Clinton Street, which gives it a grand total of over 15,000 cars passing this site every day. So this certainly is a very busy business corner. Some of the improvements that are going to be made are going to be a parking lot. There's going to be additional lighting that's going to be put on. There's going to be new roof, paint and facade upgrade. The budget certainly is at a minimum of $100,000, and it likely will exceed the $100,000. This is a rendering of what we anticipate the exterior of the facility to look like when it's completed. This is the product layout. It talks about a pretty simple layout in the middle of the store, where the walk-in coolers will be, where the shelving is going to be in the middle, and the types of product that will be stored in each one of those areas. Again, it's a PAS license. We do anticipate that over 50% of the sales are going to come from alcohol. We're going to offer premium products that aren't available generally in this area. That is in this area of town. I mean, the other stores that we believe would be competitive in our space would be Benny's and also Friar Tuck. Those are the types of liquor store items that we want to have. Certainly it's going to be a smaller footprint. It'll be more convenient for people to obtain these types of products from our store than others. And considering we have 15,000 people that drive by this on a daily basis, we believe that this is a good location. All right. As far as the district that this is located in, on the corner here, this is a B1 business district. And the intent of B1, as we've been through before, is for the development of these types of facilities on high volume areas that are designed to create minimum impact. Specifically with the surrounding uses of this property, we have business use all the way around the property with the exception of directly to the west. There is some residential property that is contiguous. Now, bear in mind, we are in the middle of town. This is, in essence, I don't want to say it's redevelopment, but this is utilization and increasing the intensity of use of an existing property located within an older part of Bloomington. And because of that, we are not in the far east side where you're, 2,000 feet from the closest residence. This is a business district that is close to residential facilities. There are no prohibitions regarding any of the lot lines or close with respect to any of the items located with a church, school, hospital, or retirement facility. The hours of operation, we believe, are very reasonable and are very indicative of the type of store that we want to operate, which is 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. There will not be any liquor sales past 10 p.m. because that's not the type of store that Mr. Samhan is desiring to manage. In addition, there's not even an issue of the single serve. We are not asking and we're not seeking to have single serve alcohol sales at this location, and it's not the intent or the business model for Mr. Samhan at this time. Proximity to additional locations. I mean, we have Green Top Grocery is 0.6, Kroger is 2.4, University Liquors, and then Thornton's are the closest. liquor license establishments between the two. That is the entirety of my presentation regarding this liquor license. I believe that we're capable and ready to answer any questions that the commission may have about our use. And I feel that this use is a good use of the property, considering at this time, business development in the community, I think, is very difficult to come by. We have a business proprietor who's willing to put up his money. He's willing to move his family. He's willing to make an investment in a property that, frankly, is underutilized and is an eyesore as it currently exists. And this corner is prime time perfect for this type of business. So we believe that this will be a great success for the community and for the business owner. Thank you.
Thanks. Certainly, you've certainly preempted a lot of the questions I would have had about Bassett training, single serve, lighting, parking, cameras, zoning, the nature of this. It is, however, even though the zoning is B1 and all but one property to the west is not residential, it still is in close proximity to other residences. And I think that was the concern that the council had back in 2014. And I think it's probably one of the reasons why we do have some concerns here. I'm going to turn to Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Powell, any questions or concerns that you have?
I mean, I think Mr. Marvel covered it really well. Like you said, my questions were Bassett training, and it sounds like that's covered. I think the 10 p.m. hours are extremely reasonable if he plans to have 10 p.m. 7 days a week. And, you know, I too drive by that location quite often. And, you know, I'm a big fan of us, you know, upgrading the locations that we already have instead of building new. So, you know, it would be nice to see that location brought up, and it is an eyesore. So for me, I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, and certainly thank you very much. It definitely, I drive by that several times a day because it's now en route from the house that I've recently bought to Illinois Wesleyan. But, and it is, as Mr. Marvel, I just have to, want to compliment you, Mr. Marvel. You had a very thorough presentation and hit pretty much any of the concerns that people would have had. We do have others that are going to testify, but certainly I don't think there's any question that this is in desperate need of renovation. And we obviously want to encourage development. This is a different kind of business model than the one that I believe that we were presented with and the council was presented with back in 2014. And especially the hours of operation. I think many, and especially if there are no single serves, there certainly seems to be a lot of very good things that have been put into place. I'm going to talk to turn to Mr. Boyle. Mr. Boyle, do you have any additional questions?
Could you describe a little bit more about the single serve situation? What are your thoughts, or what's the business model with respect to that?
They're not going to have them, George.
Well, I'm just wondering, so does that
no
include,
single serve.
I'm just asking specific, because actually the definition of single serve kind of can vary to some degree. So I was just wondering if you can address that in a little more specificity.
What do you,
Rich,
if you could clarify for me as well, George, what are you talking about in terms of single, what are the broader definitions? If it's not alcohol, what do you mean by single serve then?
Well, I guess my question is, so does that include, our definition involves 40 ounces or less at times, or
right.
And so I was just wondering if you can specify anything about that, Rich, that might address some of the.
Yeah, and you know, I think that we wrestled with this this single serve 40 ounce, and I think certainly the 40 ounce, and I think. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Mayor Renner, the last time we did this on the west side, the 40 ounces, I think, is specifically, I think the intent is that goes to beer. I mean, even if you buy a 40-ounce bottle of wine.
Right.
I mean,
right.
There are not going to be any 40-ounce beers sold. Right. There are no single-serve beers sold. There won't be any single-serve beers less than 40 ounces, 12 ounces, 10, whatever. There are no single serves. As far as the liquor bottle sizes, will be no little liquor bottles, you know, the single shots. And I've been through that. I'm pulling up that list at the moment, but you get down to, there are no single serve liquor, you know, hard liquor being sold at the time.
Gotcha.
there will be no cans of wine
Right,
sold
right.
in single serves. Does that answer your question, George?
Well, I wanted to be a little specific. I wanted you to be a little bit specific about perhaps what would and what would not be sold. So I think you've described some of that. When you say cans of wine, I'm assuming you mean something smaller than.
Well,
What,
no, I think
40 ounces?
it's just sort of
Well, I'm asking him.
kind of making a
Mayor.
pun. Is that right, Rich? I assumed that was a more of a joke. Or
What's
pun.
that with?
What do you?
40 no cans of wine. I'm not. Are there cans of wine?
Oh yeah, I think that they sell cans.
Oh, they
of
do.
wine now.
Oh, they
yeah.
did. Oh, okay. Then it's my ignorance. I apologize.
Cans, however you want to buy wine, you can. There will be no miniature bottles, and there will be no quarter pints, which are 2 shots.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just hearing.
I think,
Now,
go ahead.
when you spoke about food, were you saying kind of like the regular things that a liquor store would sell in terms of food, or did you have any more specifics you could fill us in on that?
No, I think that my deck just indicated that it would be more typical things that you would find, say, at Friar Tuck. Cheese, crackers, things of that nature.
Okay.
Friar Tuck is a pretty good example of the type of food things
Right.
that would be served.
Okay.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. At this point, we have some people who are in attendance who want to speak on the other end of this. Is there anybody that wants to speak pro on this? Anybody else, Madam Clerk?
Mayor, if I could, I think I will ask about the tax situation because that came up last time. And it
But
may not
this is a different owner, though, right?
Well, that's why I'm asking. I'm just trying to
Okay.
get clear as to what the situation is because I think there may be folks who are interested in that. And
Okay.
so if it's a different owner, that would be
Okay.
something for the
Great.
record.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Marvel? Yeah.
I think that we put that was also on the deck, but we went through it very quickly. The current property owner is Mr. Awad's brother, Mr. Samhan's brother, who is the present property owner. And we do have a lease between Awad and his brother for the use of the property to the extent the liquor license is granted.
Okay.
Do you know if there is a lien and the status of that with respect to that since that came up at the council?
I do not believe that there's a lien from the title work that we've been able to review. There's nothing out there at this point.
Thank you.
Okay. At this point, are there anybody else that wants to speak in favor of this, Madam Clerk?
No, we don't have anyone who
Do we
has
have,
registered
we
to
do
speak in
have
favor.
2 people who want to speak in opposition. Is that correct?
Yes, we have 2 people registered to speak
I wonder if you could,
against.
in the order that you have them, wonder if you could call them and swear them in, please? Call them
Okay,
forward.
we also have a few that emailed public comment. We can state that afterwards.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Arthur, if you wouldn't mind getting the conference room portal open. Thank you very much. We'll start with Marty Siegel.
Marty?
If you can come up to the podium. Thank you.
Should be able to hear you. Yeah.
Okay, Marty Seigel.
Hey, Marty, we need you to be sworn in. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Marty, did you go ahead and you have some concerns and go ahead.
I actually said I've followed this for many years. I've lived in my house for many years, and I've lived in Bloomington for I've lived in my neighborhood for about 40 years. And so I've been very aware of all the things that have gone on regarding liquor. Before I wrote down what I wanted to say so that I might not absorb way too much of your time. I'm puzzled though, as I was listening, my notes show, and I've been before the commission a few times on this issue, my notes show that Price Right was before the council in 2011 when Mayor Stockton was in charge. And then my notes show that the 2014 never went before council and that it was just before the commission. So I have a different.
Just to clarify, it did come to city council. It was denied 5-0.
Okay, was it on the?
It was not on the. No, it had to be pulled for it to be denied. It had to be pulled. It was pulled, and and it was voted down 5-0, and that would have been at the end of toward the end of 2014.
Okay, I attended that 2014 meeting and I have notes about it. And I remember, let me read on what
Sure.
I remember what was said at that meeting. I took notes and I still have it. The other thing that puzzled me before I go into this is that Franzetti's, how far is that? I didn't notice that on the list. Franzetti's is, they sell beer and wine, but they don't sell all forms of liquor. And that is, what, 6 blocks?
I would
Now,
suspect, but you can ask that question and we can follow up shortly. But
Yeah.
I think it might be because the business model is different from Vanzetti's. Their liquor offerings and beer and wine offerings, I'm guessing, would be closer to the establishments that they mentioned rather than Franzetti's, which is really more of a convenience store. But go ahead, Marty.
They do sell beer and
That's
wine.
correct.
And I'd just like to make the observation too, that having watched this property for all these years, that $100,000 doesn't seem like a whole lot to fix it up. I mean, it just doesn't seem like we'd even touch it to me to be, and I don't know that much about repairs, but it strikes me as not being very much. I think there's 2 basic problems here. And I have printed it up and I can send you copies. There just is no good reason to give a liquor license at this place. There's 2 problems. The first is that past liquor licenses at this intersection of Route 9 and 150 have absolutely undermined neighborhood stability. And S&S Liquors, way back when, 703 Clinton, right near there, across the street, was just a beautiful professional operation run by local businessman C.J. Sofa. It was so professional. You could walk in with your kids, you could get snacks. It was just beautifully run. And the store closed in January of 1993 after the murders there during the 1980s. And there was no reason for that to fail, except for that its location at the Route 9 and 150 is the problem. It's very much a part of the problem. So there has not been a store that has sold all types of liquor at that location since then. So it closed in 1993 after the 80s. And then when beer and wine were sold in the neighborhood, I didn't know the dates, but it started with Huck's, I believe, disturbances began to increase. And Huck's, for years, we went there and the kids would pick up sandwiches before they would go detasseling. But then, as everyone in the neighborhood knows, it just disintegrated. And beer and wine have not been sold in the neighborhood since 2012, when Price Right lost its liquor license because of those gasoline taxes. That's the main reason. I just think that is absolutely the wrong location. It is not a good location for liquor. It is too close to the neighborhood. The other reason I have is that it is the same family. When I have been to several of these commission meetings, and the same family still owns the property. And I do not believe they have earned the right to hold a liquor license in Bloomington. And they are now asking for more than what they had before. The assessor's website tells us that members of the Samham family have owned it since 2003. I don't know if it's 2002 or 2003, but we have just not seen any respect for the community. The site, which is now Price Right, has attracted police activity. The 2014 Liquor Commission minutes show there were 39 calls for service in 2011 and an average of 35 calls for service in 2012. And the Samhams have been very clear to say this is a family business. And those calls to service, please remember, that doesn't include all the unrecorded neighborhood disturbances that we have to go through. We aren't detectives. We can't prove this or that. We just, it includes suspicious activities that require neighborhood monitoring. We have really felt we have been obliged to monitor. And this has reduced our quality of life. I frequently during the time there was alcohol, I frequently witnessed people with containers of beer, trespassing on my neighbor's property as they returned from buying liquor. And I routinely also found my back gate open by trespassers. So there was this process. And again, you have to be a detective to prove how many people and who they are. For a time, a Wesleyan church was located across the street from 703, but that church sold the building and the pastor pointed to disruptions at Price Right as a cause. So since Price Right has lost its liquor license, the neighborhood has been peaceful. It has been very different. And I just don't think we want to go back to it. According to the Liquor Commission minutes, Price Right has also been cited for violations by the McLean County Health Department. Again, we were in the same family. Some years ago, I sent my son-in-law to buy a gallon of milk. And I, out through the back gate, buy a gallon of milk. When I poured it into my recipe, the milk came out in sour lumps. And there's more to the story about the way he was treated when he went back. But Price Right has just continued to be uninviting, and I don't know anybody who goes there, and I don't believe anyone will. And I believe the city's being held hostage. Well, we'll fix up the site if you give us all this liquor, possibility to sell liquor. When they applied for the license in 2013 and 2014, Commissioner Renner told them they needed to build trust with the neighborhood. But instead, they've repeatedly created different entities. I think I show 5 different entities that have applied, all from the same family, in order to apply again for liquor licenses. And this time they're asking for much more than what they had before. The current owner, Ahmad Saman, lives in Lindenhurst. His address is Lindenhurst, Illinois. And after the Liquor Commission meeting, I spoke with Mohammed Samhan and Ahmad Samhan, and I suggested that they might find a house in our neighborhood. Why not live by us if you want? And on that, at that point, they said, no, they weren't going to move in Bloomington. Well, to move into the Bloomington area doesn't mean you're really anywhere near close to what's going on in our neighborhood. It's really not the same. At the same point, I'm glad to hear this about single serve, and I hope is true. Mohammed Samhan, that day when I was speaking to him after the 2014 meeting, also told me that he was interested in serving people who needed that one drink every day. So I know there was a big concern about single serve at that point, because it's especially damaging to the neighborhood where we have a lot of apartments where single serve can happen.
Right. And what I was going to ask you that, Marty, does the prohibition against single serves, which is the condition of the liquor license, if that's violated, it will be removed, and the hours of operation, which would end at 10, the lighting, the parking, camera requirements, are those things that you think would be helpful?
I think it is the wrong location for liquor. I think it is a very bad location for liquor. I think it's a serious mistake. I think we found that out. We've had a good liquor store there. I think it was found out we were a serious mistake. I think everybody knew who CJ Sofa was, and I know he was highly regarded. I was very disappointed when that store closed, but it seems to me it's very clear that with the traffic going through there may be the advantage if you're selling liquor, but I think it's a very, very bad location. Plus,
don't you think that, just if I could ask that, don't you think that the murder might have had something to do with it?
Well, absolutely. But
I mean, that would kind of put a damper on your economic vitality, I would assume.
Yes, but why would you come? But why choose to come into a neighborhood that seems to be a neighborhood to conduct your raid? That to me makes it an ideal location for people to come in and rob a store. And but I also feel very, very strongly that when the same people in various entities have owned the property since 2002, we have no evidence no reason to see the license be given to, we have had no proof that they have any respect for the neighborhood. I've lived in the Old East Side neighborhood, which is bounded by Locust and Clinton on the south and west for more than 40 years.
Yes, you've told us. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead and finish because we do need to move on.
I would like the neighborhood, I'd like the commission to know how hard we have worked to maintain our quality of life. We have had neighborhood meetings, we've had picnics, we've worked with other neighborhoods to solve Central City problems, we've attended the police focus meetings, we've worked with landlords to maintain peace and quiet. We go to them first, we don't go to the police first. We've advocated for green space, and we've most recently succeeded in promoting the addition of trees at the new Empire Junction along the trail between Walnut and Empire Streets. We've tended a small patch of plantings at Chestnut and the Trail. A couple of us from the Old East Side have helped maintain Herb Guild Garden at the Atwood Wayside for many years. And since the time Price Right has stopped selling liquor, 5 families have moved into our neighborhood.
Okay. Well, thank you.
There's no reason, I'm sorry, I'm almost done.
Okay.
There's no reason to allow a liquor license at this location. It's also unreasonable for a long time out-of-town owner who has shown no respect for the community to expect to be granted a liquor license. It's too great a risk to the residents and business owners who are working hard to keep Bloomington a viable place to live. Thank you.
Hold on, we have questions. Just a minute, but Mr. Boyle, before I go to you, I'm going to ask my liquor commissioner who's attended. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Powell?
No questions. I mean, it's, you know, a lot about the history of that location and
Right.
not so much about the future of the location, I guess.
Okay. Mr. Boyle, did you want to add something?
Oh, my only question was whether Mr. Marvel wants to cross-examine. I'm just thinking he, you know,
Okay,
he'd
thank
have
you.
a right to cross-examine any of the witnesses.
Okay, good idea. Mr. Marvel?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marty. Appreciate that.
One more comment. I would say that this is the history, it goes with the future. I think we have been promised better and better for what, 18 years? And why should we expect it to be better now?
Okay. Thank you very much. The next person who wants to be sworn in? The next, I'm sorry, the
next public commenter.
okay. Thank you.
We have Gladys Cabezas.
Yes.
Okay. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Gladys, go ahead. You can start with a statement, then we'll have some questions, I'm sure.
Well, I live in a very nice little area, and now we are going to open this type of business. Liquor all the time. People walk by with the little package of liquor, and we have a little kids next to my house, which you can see the liquor store almost. And 10 o'clock in the morning is going to be open. It's so early. The Wesleyan University is not too far, so the students will be walking in all the time in that busy corner over there. I don't think it's right to have that type of liquor store in there. I don't think so. I mean, Dr. Maringo said enough. She said it, she spoke for everybody. That's whatever she said is just great. I don't need to be here talking because she did enough. She talked for everybody.
If I could start and just ask you a question, does the if we were to approve this and have it start at 11, which I think it might be a little more typical time for something like Friar Tuck's, and we don't have a single serve. We do have improved lighting, cameras, parking. Do those things provide you any comfort, ma'am?
It doesn't matter because 10 or 11 or 12 it's just too early, and it's just not right to have that type of business there. Too many things have happened in the past since I've been living there. And we try to keep everything nice and clean. Now we're going to have a liquor store like we were in the jungle business. What else is coming? What is next? Next is something else is coming up.
Okay.
Because we have a liquor store now, so everything is going to be just
okay.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Commissioner Powell, do you have any questions?
No questions, Mayor.
Mr. Marvel, do you have any cross-examination?
No cross-examination.
Mr. Boyle, anything?
No, not
Okay.
for this witness.
Okay, thank you. Now, did I understand? Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before I go any further, would you read the names of the other people who have emailed comments and concerns, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we had 6 individuals who emailed against the applicant. We have Jay Jareb, Marty Siegel, Julie Prandy, Jan Holder, Patricia Morin, and Dorothy Denny.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mayor, if I could address that just briefly.
Please.
With respect to emails, well, first of all, and I think Mr. Marvel alluded to this earlier, Ms. Mohan, the clerk, sent copies to Mr. Marvel, so he did get to see those. Is that correct, Ms.
Yes.
Mohan?
With the exception of one, I had a technical difficulty of one that came in right before the meeting, and I couldn't get that one to Mr. Marvel, but the other 5 were.
Can you tell us for the record who that was?
It was Jay Jareb.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Boyle, sorry.
With regard to that, is it pretty much cumulative, or is there anything different about that particular email that Mr. Marvel may need to address?
It was
or may want
similar
to
to the
address?
previous comments.
Also, with regard to the count of the emails, there were 6 received, but I would note for the record that Ms. Siegel has testified, so that in a sense we're looking at 5 additional persons rather than an additional 6. One other thing with respect to the record, I would say this: that when people, that generally speaking, in an administrative hearing, an out-of-court statement, whether it be an email or of something like that, where the witness or the person sending the email is not available to be sworn in, as these witnesses were here today on both sides, and to be cross-examined, as again all the witnesses are available here, they're generally given less weight in terms of each one of them. So they're not generally not given the same weight as would be a live witness with regard to testimony as I was describing.
Great. I think that's a great point. If I could just mention just to the clerk, I would,
sure,
as much as possible. I think that would be something really important for us to keep as part of the record, just to make that clear. Mr. Boyle, I'm sorry.
Right, and so we have taken, especially given the COVID situation, we've taken more out of more email comment than we would have otherwise done. But having said that, we do our best to make it available to each side, and to advise the commission or the board or what have you as to the weight that should be given to it relative to in-house testimony. One other thing, because it has come up as single serving size, I just wanted to caution the commission that if single serving size is, without any further description of it used, our ordinance refers to a single serving size as follows. It says single serving size, an original package that contains 40 ounces or less of alcoholic liquor. And if we want to define it as something smaller for the condition of the license, that's fine. But, otherwise we may be bound by that definition, which would include a lot of things sold at your typical liquor store.
And you mean like bottles of wine?
Yeah. Bottles of wine, but it says alcohol or spirits. So, the term 40 ounces or less of alcoholic liquor. So it's very broad. One might argue it's too broad to be used as a definition in ordinances, but I'm telling you that it's there. So if we want to say, no, beer in 40 ounces or less will be sold other than, say, in 6-packs. If we want to say, single servings of wine of under 25 ounces will be prevented, things like that, that's fine. But otherwise, we're likely to have a condition that may eat the license.
I
But
see.
that's just,
So,
I just wanted to point that out.
in order to clarify that, because if we're assuming that if this were granted, it was a positive recommendation that they would serve bottles of wine, would 25 ounces or less cover that, Mr. Boyle?
I think my recollection is it's 24 ounces and over would be your normal size of wine.
Okay, so we would, in order for us to phrase that, it would be no wine under 24 ounces?
That would be a description of, I think, yes. Does the applicant have any input on that?
Yeah, I do.
Mr. Marble?
Yeah, I do. This raises, and I appreciate you bringing this up, George. I think that this raises a couple questions regarding the types of alcohol and the sizes, right? Because all alcohol is not created equal. And I think on the wine size, I haven't talked specifically regarding I don't even know if they sell half bottles, but I think the wine typically is in the 25.4 ounces. So anything less than 24 would be smaller than a full size bottle. So we would hope.
And I think that's what the mayor, I think, is addressing there, right? That you don't want anything smaller than would be the normal sized wine bottle.
Yeah. So I guess normal sized wine bottle. And then I haven't specifically talked about this with my client, but I'm trying to get some direction from him, but a normal sized wine bottle. And then with liquor, liquor is sold, in various sizes as well. And I think the size that is easy for us would be half pint and up, and a half pint would be 6.8 ounces.
Okay.
And my understanding is that there's not a desire to sell those by this applicant, and that wouldn't be an objectionable condition to the license. Is that accurate?
With what?
Half pints.
Liquor starts with
spirits.
It goes miniature, quarter pint, half pint, pint.
Okay.
And then a fifth.
Okay.
So he has indicated half pint.
His interest is in serving half pints. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but I think that he would be fine. I mean, this is what he temporally said, but I think that we would get by with a pint.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then, so if we did,
I'm sorry, I just missed the last part, Mr. Marver. I didn't quite get your last sentence there. It broke up.
Yeah, I think that if a half pint is going to be an issue, I think that we could convince to go to a pint. But at this point, we're requesting actually a pint liquor would be fine, which would be 12.7 ounces of liquor.
Okay.
And then the beer, there's not going to be anything less than 40 ounces for a beer. But I do want to add here on the beer side, a lot of craft beer comes in, special limited release bottles that are, they're $15 for a bottle or $20 for a bottle, but it's a high quality, it's like a high quality beer. So,
and what size is that, Mr. Marble?
Well, I'm trying to think, there's some of the local breweries will put out special or limited release bottles that are.
Yeah, there are crowlers that are,
right.
maybe 32 ounces or 30 ounces, somewhere in there.
When you have things like Foster's that are 25.4 ounces.
Right.
Those kind of things. So
we don't. It's not going to be anything that's less than 40 as far as cooled and grab and go from a beer standpoint. But I mean, and I guess if he wants to come in and put premium beer in, and we have a limit with anything less than 40, and there's a bottle that's a growler that's 28 ounces, then we can talk about it. But we would like to have the flexibility to have the products that we feel that would be driven by that premium.
I guess the whole reason I brought this up is because we do have a broad definition in our ordinance. And unless you define it differently, I mean, not the mayor or whomever, unless it's defined differently, it's going to, as I say, pretty much prevent the sale of all but the largest quantities of alcohol, which I don't think is what you want.
Right.
So I'm offering an opportunity to describe if there are conditions that are acceptable or that, we want, that there be a description of what those are, clear enough for the record, so that when the council gets a recommendation, they get a recommendation that is realistic and that reflects, maybe what the commission's looking for, but also what the applicant, is willing to live with.
Sure. And we may need, just for the record, and you and I, Mr. Boyle, we may very well want to revisit cleaning up that language, because if we're talking about single serves that may be problematic, we may want to go down that path with the ordinance itself. But right now, obviously, we're just dealing with this.
I didn't write it.
No, I'm not blaming you.
No, I just thought that was a joke. But I didn't write it. It was brought up. Actually, that was from a good part of the early 2000s, and there was quite a bit of discussion on it. But I think you're right. Given how broad that term is, it may be worth revisiting. But
sure.
Here's the way I look at it. I mean, when you see single serve, you know what it is. But trying to then define single serve becomes more difficult, which is what we're charged to do with. I know that it's really important for us from a timing standpoint that I don't want to kind of get mirrored down in maybe definitional things at this point. So from a broad stroke standpoint, in order to put some conditions on the license, I guess my request would be liquor that is 12.7 ounces or 375 milliliters and up, wine bottles, and then no beers less than 40 ounces in single serve. Now,
but that are, we could conceivably do the 24, or that's under 25 ounces.
On the beer?
And just because, as you have mentioned, there'll be maybe some craft beers that are 28 or Foster's 25.4 ounces that might be things that are not quite the grab and go, as you mentioned.
Right. Certainly.
So could it be, would you be looking at something like no beer or wine in quantities under 25 ounces, no liquor in amounts less than, what had you said, Mr. Marvel?
It says 12.7 ounces or 375 milliliters.
Okay. And then,
so those would be the three conditions with respect to sale sizes.
And what did you define, Mr. Marvel? Did you say, in terms of, how did you define wine? Was that also under 24 ounces? Nothing under 24?
Yes. No. No single serve bottles. I mean, here's the deal with wine, though. Now, I mean, they sell, say, 6 packs of canned wine, which would not be single serve.
They wouldn't be single serve.
Yeah.
Right.
So. Right. Yeah, nothing less than the 24 ounces. I think a typical bottle is 25.4.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right. Is that? Let's see. Commissioner Powell.
I think that's right.
Commissioner Powell, any further comments on that?
No, I think it seems like we've at least defined the single serve for liquor, wine, and beer.
Okay, on this location. Yeah, and this is. Let's see. We don't have anybody else to testify. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Okay. This is always a difficult thing if we've got people from the neighborhood who are very concerned about this. And given that it is zoned commercial, but it is very close to, and one of the boundaries actually does abut a residential property, that is certainly a difficulty. And I gather that certainly this location and businesses have had difficulties or controversies in the past, but it does seem to me, and I'm going to look to my liquor commissioner, Commissioner Powell, see if she weighs in on this, that if we've got something that it's actually not just an eyesore. I mean, it is, as Mr. Marvel said, something that is underutilized, to put it charitably. It's in desperate need of renovation. The property in its current condition cannot possibly be considered an asset to the neighborhood. If there is a chance to have a responsible business similar to the one that Ms. Seigel mentioned from 25 years ago in the past, then it's just very, very difficult for me to turn down that type of investment and possible improvement in the community because of past sins, even if some of those are by family members with a previous license. So my inclination, I'm going to turn to my liquor commissioner to see if she has anything to contrary to that. But
if I could,
excuse me, I'm turning to Commissioner Powell.
Okay.
Commissioner Powell, do you have any, what do you think?
Mayor, I agree 100%. Like I said before, I drive by that location often, and I have for as long as I've lived in this community, which is 15 years. And, you know, I understand the comments about previous businesses and maybe those weren't successful in that location. And it, you know, it's good to understand that. But in my point of view, you know, we're trying to move forward and we're trying to advance this location. And for someone willing to come in and invest in that particular spot, to me, it's hard to turn that down because, you know, what is the future of that spot? If this gentleman does not come in and upgrade it and turn it into something, and it sounds also like this is a different business model than what the previous businesses were there. So I agree. It's hard to say no to this.
Okay. Was that Mr. Marvel? Did you want to add something? Was
Yeah,
that Mr. Boyle?
I wanted to clarify the record on two things. One, the present operator has nothing to do with the existing family, other than Mr. Samhan's brother owns the building, and there's a third party completely unrelated to the family that's been operating this facility since 2014. So I just wanted to kind of set that straight. And then my comments regarding, I think the appropriate business use of this location is on point with what you have both indicated. I mean, you know, the reality is that this corner, by and large, is underutilized from the number of traffic patterns that it has. And I've just read that Marco's Pizza is closing up to 200 to 300 additional locations throughout the Midwest. So I don't know what is going to ultimately be over on the other corner, but we could be looking at another vacant corner at some point in the future. So,
and the one thing, just I will piggyback on that, but it is really, this is more of an economic development point as mayor and liquor commissioner, is if you have capital investment and you actually do have a business that is successful and that takes advantage of the fact that you've got 15,000+ cars on the intersection of 2 state highways, that it may very well attract additional investors diagonally, you know, sort of diagonally across the street. And so I think that there are possibilities of spillovers, positive spillover benefits. And it's hard to believe, again, it currently that property in its current status is an asset to the neighborhood at all. And if it's currently not as a convenience store, posing problems, as has been indicated by at least one individual who's testified, then as long as we have the right business model and we have the right restrictions, I don't know that I'm optimistic, but I have to be to some degree as mayor, or we would never get anywhere. At this point, what I'm thinking, and I'm going to turn to my liquor commissioner to see if she's comfortable making this motion. I wonder if I could entertain a motion to have this positively recommended to the city council with the conditions that Mr. Marvel had mentioned in terms of the sales. That is, liquor would be a half pint and up, so nothing less than a half pint. That beer would be nothing under 24 ounces, and then the restrictions in terms of bottles of wine. That we would also make sure that the cameras, that there's proper cameras continue, and the improvements in lighting and parking that we mentioned, and that the hours be changed to 11 a.m., not 10 p.m. Excuse me, 10 a.m., 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Commissioner Power, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I'm comfortable with that. And I make a motion to approve this and send it to the council with those stipulations.
Okay, before I do that, Mr. Boyle, did you want to
just a point of clarification? I know we talked at some length about conditions, and I'm wondering, was it so half pints would be allowed to be sold, or things under half pints and under would not be allowed to be sold? Where do we start?
Under a half pint. So we're saying no liquor under a half pint.
Okay.
And then the same thing with no beer under 24 ounce or under 24 ounces or less.
Okay.
And then what was I have so many notes here about wine. What was the wine, Mr. Marvel? What were you suggesting?
I think it was 24 because the typical bottle is 25.5, and that
Okay,
may
so-
vary. I don't know, if somebody gets unique with their bottle sizes, but
Right. Okay. We could say under 24 ounces there as well. Mr. Boyle, what else did you have another question or comment?
And your beer was the same. The
Yes.
beer. So we're going to say no wine or beer in quantities under 24 ounces.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes. Correct.
I'm just trying to get it correct
Yes.
for the record.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if I could ask you just a point of clarification. So we have the size limitations for drink sales, which we've just discussed.
Correct.
The hours of operation from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then you started to talk about, and I don't know, Mayor, if you were blending the improvements that we're going to make or making them a condition upon what we're actually going to do.
Are there cameras there currently, Mr. Marvel?
I do not know, but there will be as part of this project.
Okay.
There will be cameras there, definitively.
Okay. Then there needs to be the cameras do need to be part of the license condition.
Okay.
And then proper lighting.
Yep.
Are you going to make those internal or external cameras, or will it be both?
We'll have both.
Okay. And then let's
Okay.
make that as part of the record, as part of the conditions for the record.
Okay. May we present these conditions then as being agreed to by the applicant, Mr. Marvel?
Agreed to.
Okay.
The ones that we just talked about. I mean, those.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
The
And then
lighting,
and then
the
the
lighting,
change.
the internal and external cameras, 24 ounces and under of beer, wine, and spirits are prohibited, and except with, I guess you talk about. I'm sorry, the spirits can be from a half pint up.
Correct.
No
And then
spirits sold in amounts
and
under
then
that.
the changes in
24
the hours of operation too.
At 11, starting
11
at 11.
11 a.m. Okay. Okay. So we have a motion. I will second Commissioner Powell's motion. Commissioner Powell, anything else you want to add to this before we vote?
I just wish them luck.
Yeah, well, I think we all do. Thank you. And I would encourage your applicant, your client, Mr. Marvel, to do what he can to make an appropriate outreach to the community. And that's not a condition, that's just a recommendation.
Yeah, and I want to get ahead of this one because we haven't talked about it as a condition, although I mentioned it, and I think it's inferred, is that a condition of the license will be Mr. Samhan living here in Bloomington. Because at the moment, we don't have a local manager on the application, and I talked with George about that.
Okay.
So we can either make that a condition or he would have to have a local manager before he can open up. I'll defer to the Liquor Commission's approval on that.
I don't really want to go down the path of trying to make a condition of where somebody lives. But I think that could be problematic, but I think we can say that the sentence that you'd said before, that in order for this to be approved, we need to have a local manager, and that could be Mr. Samhan.
Okay.
Okay, we good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
I realize we're bordering on absurdity since there are two people and you're able to rule on your own, but why don't we just have a brief roll call on that?
Oh, no, I was about to do that, Mr. Boyle. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Paul. Commissioner Renner.
Yes, thank you very much. And we do wish you the best. And if you'd certainly look forward to finally something on that corner, which has, I think, lots of potential given those traffic numbers, to be a real asset to our community and to be very productive and very profitable. So we wish you the best. And also, frankly, I'm hoping that there are spillover benefits to attracting other businesses to invest in that immediate intersection as a result of your taking the lead on this. Thank you very much. At this point, we move to an update on item 5D, Mr. Boyle, on the Mickey's Kitchen complaint and citation. If you could just let us know what's going on there.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Prior to the last meeting, there was a citation issued, so this is prior to the October meeting. Excuse me, 2 counts with regard to Mickey's Kitchen, located at 1709 Veterans Parkway in Bloomington. alleging failure to pay food and beverage taxes, and allowing an unlicensed business to sell alcohol at the premises. There's still some, excuse me, the licensee has relinquished both their video gaming and their liquor license. The establishment is closed, and there is currently investigation and discussion with the owner and the former manager of the establishment. So with that in mind, I'd ask for a motion to continue this matter to a date certain, and that date certain being December 8th, 2020.
Mr. Powell, would you be willing to make that motion?
Yes, I motion to continue this till December 8th.
Second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Paul,
Yes.
Commissioner Renner.
Yes. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. Madam Clerk, Commissioner Powell, and our Chief Scott, and Mr. Boyle. We appreciate all your help and input into this. At this point, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.